Hey, Bill. Can you hear me? Huh?
Yes. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
I think everybody can be heard. So if everybody is ready, we will get started. Good evening to everyone, our board members, Superintendent Moore, and those that are participating virtually. Everyone participating virtually, so good evening to everyone. Welcome to our board meeting, May 19th. We are getting started. Called to order at 5:35. To establish the quorum, I'm going to do a roll call. As we determined last time, is now suggested by legislation. So I'm president, of course, Keith Sutton, board chair. Start with vice chair, Ms. Roxy Cash.
Yes, I'm here.
Christine Kushner.
Present, thank you.
Jim Martin.
Present, thank you.
Heather Scott.
Present.
Chris Haggerty.
Present, thank you.
Lindsay Mahaffey. Ms. Mahaffey. Okay, perhaps she has not signed on. Ms. Johnson Hostler.
Present.
Mr. Fletcher.
Present.
Ms. Mahaffey. Ms. Mahaffey, I see you signed on. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. And you're present? And
Yes, sir.
Attorney Bloomberg.
Sir.
All right. Superintendent Moore.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Then we're present. Everybody is present. We have a quorum. I could ask you all to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me, please. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you all for that. We'll right into it. We'll start with superintendent's comments. So Superintendent Moore, I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening. I'm proud to announce that 2 of our science teachers have been named 2020-2021 Keenan Fellows. Shane Berry, STEM coordinator and science teacher at Athens Drive Magnet High School, and Mary Lou Ringwood, science teacher at Forestville Road Elementary, are among just two of the just 19 teachers from across the state to receive this prestigious honor. They'll receive a $5,000 stipend each and 80 hours of intensive professional development focused on enhancing project-based learning. The fellowship is a year-long commitment that begins with a 3-week summer internship with a local mentor who will introduce the teacher to their research as well as the inner workings of their industry. During the school year, the teachers work with their mentor to design and implement a lesson for their students. Often, the mentor will visit the classroom to help students better understand the material. Mr. Berry will work with Dr. Fanxing Li, a professor of energy and environmental engineering at NC State, while Ms. Ringwood will work with Mr. David Banks of the Statistical and Applied Mathematical Sciences Institute in RTP. Our strategic plan core belief number 3 states that well-supported, highly effective, and dedicated teachers are essential to success for all students. Programs like these help our teachers stay on the leading edge of their profession, with the ultimate beneficiary being students who will be better equipped to succeed in college and career. I commend Mr. Berry and Ms. Ringwood for taking the initiative to provide this unique opportunity for their students. Next, I'd like to congratulate Nancy Stavrakakis of Mills Park Elementary School, who has been named the Wake County School Counselor of the Year. She received the news last week, surrounded from a safe distance by family, friends, staff members, and students from Mills Park. Ms. Stavrakakis has been a school counselor at Mills Park since 2009. Mills Park Principal Michael Regan says her impact is felt throughout the school and community. She has taken the initiative to implement the American School Counselors Association national model, which helps integrate counseling into the school's academic mission. She also coordinates the Nourishing Noggins food distribution program to serve students in need. Most of all, she is known throughout the school as a problem solver, always available to advise anyone who seeks her out. Mr. Reagan says, "I have no doubt Mills Park students, staff, and parents could readily share hundreds of examples of how Ms. Stavrakakis has been there for them when they needed her most." She will go on to compete for the North Carolina Counselor of the Year in November. I want to thank her for her service to our students and families and congratulate her again on this well-deserved honor. I'll close by noting an important and impressive milestone in our Child Nutrition Services team that we mentioned earlier. By the end of this week, we expect to have served well over 1 million meals since mid-March to support our students during school closure. These dedicated staff members have been a lifeline and a source of stability for thousands of families during this uncertain time period. I also want to commend members of our transportation staff for delivering meals to 20 neighborhoods every day, Monday through Friday, to ensure families have access to healthy food. In all, Child Nutrition Services are operating 60 food distribution sites every single weekday, serving hot lunches and breakfast items. Our food security team will continue to assess the needs throughout our county and respond quickly to meet them. In addition, I'm happy to announce that we will be extending food distribution through the summer until schools reopen. Our child nutrition and transportation staff will be getting a well-deserved break on Memorial Day, but they will make sure to provide extra food on Friday. These staff members have been the hearts and hands of our district during this trying period, and they will continue to be. My deepest and most sincere gratitude to them all. Thank you, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Superintendent Moore, for those comments. I'll start my comments by just saying I want to thank the congregation, Pastor Joe Stevenson, and the congregation at Macedonia New Life Church, who invited me and was joined by Superintendent Moore this past Sunday, where they honored their graduates at a social distance ceremony where they actually had a parade of members of the congregation to come through and congratulate and celebrate the seniors and all the graduates there at their church on Rock Quarry Road. And so thank you and congratulations to those seniors. Thank you, Pastor Joe Stevenson and the New Life, Macedonia New Life Church family for that opportunity. I was also reminded as we watched many of the cars that were celebrated or decorated with streamers and balloons, and one of the cars said sixth grade, here I come. And so want to also congratulate not just our seniors, but our fifth graders, our eighth graders, and even those that are in preschool that are all graduating to new levels and advancing, matriculating through their educational endeavors as well. We congratulate and celebrate all of you, but particularly to our seniors who have showed grace, who have showed perseverance and resilience as we enter into this graduation season for Wake County. Thank you so much for your patience. Congratulations to you, and we continue to look forward to all of the great things that you will do as you continue on in your career. With that, I'll turn it over to our Vice Chair, Roxy Cass, for any comments, and then on to the rest of the board.
Thank you, Chair Sutton. Actually, I'm just going to have a lot of things and thoughts that I've gotten this week, but I'd like to just share. I'd like to share one thing specific that, as far as I've talked to a lot of the county commissioners and a lot of the business leaders as I've looked through our board budget, and the one thing that keeps coming to mind as I talk to business leaders is that I want to say thank you to the county commissioners and the fact that we have a good working relationship and that we continue to do that and work well together on our budget. I know they've had to look at some strict, very tight cost savings and trying to maintain funding for education, as well as cutting their own workforce to do that. And I realize that this is a large shortfall for them was mainly in the sales tax revenue. So I just wanted to take this time to say thank you to our county commissioners and to our manager, David Ellis, and Superintendent Moore for working so closely together, and that I think that we have a lot of good things that we can accomplish this next school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Cash. Mr. Fletcher, we'll start with you this evening.
Thank you, Chair Sutton. I want to echo the superintendent's shout out for one of our two science teachers, Shane Berry at Athens. Shane worked with me one summer to put together a presentation for the Cary Chamber of Commerce to bring them into the classroom and how we're doing instruction, what's changed in terms of expectations of our students, and also to give them a glimpse of how we're trying to accomplish preparing our young people for success after they leave us, not only with academics, but also with the soft skills, so to speak, that the industry has told us are woefully lacking in many, many graduates from other institutions. And so, Shane, congratulations. Thank you for your volunteer service in that effort, and congratulations on this. I will be very short, just to say that our teachers, our child nutrition people, our parents, and our students continue to navigate uncharted waters, and they are doing a great job. We've got some gaps here and there. We've got some students who haven't logged in. We've got some challenges that we face as a district serving 162 children. I just want to applaud what's happening and give great appreciation to everyone who contributes to the success of this very new remote instruction, teaching, and learning process. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Ms. Johnson-Hospital.
Yes, thank you. Again, I feel like it's important for us to continue to thank those people who are volunteering to support our schools and our student families in multiple ways. Every week, I'm amazed by the number of people who continue to reach out. So that tells me how many people are really listening to our public comments. Last week, I mentioned needing volunteers for a couple of our food distribution sites, and I immediately on Wednesday started getting emails and phone calls from people willing to support our food service distribution site. So again, thank you for all of the public who are continuing to listen to us. I generally keep these things separate, but I will say since we haven't been having our Board Advisory Council meetings, my Board Advisory Chair has been doing a significant, I would say, yeoman's work to make sure that we're keeping in touch with our families and our parents so that they still feel connected if they're not watching our board meetings, that they know that they can, or reach out to me as their board representative. And one of the things that she continues to share with me after speaking to parents who may not have chosen to call me really is that parents do understand the difficulty that we're all in uncharted waters and have never done this before. But I'd be remiss to not say on behalf of those parents that it is a continuing concern for how we're going to close the gap for the loss of learning that our students are having. And we've all talked about it, but I think those parents also need to hear us say we recognize that indeed our students, not just in Wake County, but across the state and across this country, are having a gap in their learning. And what does that really mean for those students who already were experiencing a gap in their learning? And now, to Mr. Fletcher's point, who may not be logging in for a number of reasons, who still aren't connected. And so I think it's important that as board members, if you haven't heard from these parents, they understand that we know this, but also recognize the difficulty that lies ahead and want to ensure that we're acknowledging that indeed people are working hard and trying their best, and yet we will have a significant amount of work in front of us. And so again, no surprise, those phone calls and emails came when folks saw our calendar discussion today, which is largely why we had a great turnout during our work session. But I do want to acknowledge that those parents are watching and listening and hoping and praying for us that we continue to make the best decisions with very little information as a board. And lastly, I will say, as a parent of a student who is very engaged in the arts, it's been interesting to watch our students continue to perform online for their missing dance concerts or orchestra concerts, who are used to having an audience who are doing that in front of a parent or a friend. But indeed, it has continued to keep our students engaged. And hats off to those creative art department teachers and supporters who are helping those students figure out how to do work that's usually done in collaboration with other students. And so watching how their movement and their music flows together while they're weaving them in. Also, to Mr. Simmons and your team, we have a huge group of folks who are really savvy with technology. So I think there's a lot of people we can reach out to when we need support because they've been able to connect those performances seamlessly online. And so, again, hats off to our arts department for making sure that those students, especially those students who are matriculating to the next step in their life, be able to have their end-of-year performances. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson-Hostler. Mrs. Mahaffey.
Thank you. I just wanted to congratulate Mrs. S., as she's known in the Mills Park Elementary community, for being named Wake County's Counselor of the Year. She is passionate about her students, her community, and seeing the parade videos that came out, her community really came together to celebrate her in a very unique way. And I hope that as we move forward with this, that we'll be able to continue to celebrate these things, just as we're having modified changes for our graduation, celebrations for our teachers and counselors are being modified as well. I want to reach out and thank our parents for continuing to ask questions. I think even if I don't have the answer at the time, just letting parents know that that's a question that we also have that we're looking into has been a relief, so that we're not just feeling like it's a void. So there are many, many conversations. You see part of those in the COVID-19 updates that come from the superintendent and the board chair on Fridays, and also in our board work sessions. And I just want to encourage parents to continue to follow those and reach out if they have further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mahaffey. Mr. Haggerty.
Thank you, Chairman Sutton. Again, I know that parents have a lot of questions as we move through this, and I think we all do. We are operating in an environment of uncertainty, and we see things where even items that we think were set, like our calendars, can just shift underneath us depending on what the legislature and other state leaders come out and do. But please know that we are working very hard on these issues and that we are listening. Ms. Mahaffey referenced to the weekly updates that the chairman and the superintendent host. And if people aren't tuning into those, they are streamed live, but you can also access them recorded later. Please do, because there's a wealth of information provided in those. There's some exciting plans that were talked about in the last one about other ways that the district is going to reach out and try to get more feedback and more participation from parents in this process of what our schools will look like when we reopen. And I want to commend the superintendent and the chairman for reaching out and trying to get more input from our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haggerty. Mrs. Scott.
Thank you. I have been, attending some of the teacher and staff appreciation parades that various schools have been having in District 1. I mentioned that at the last meeting. But what strikes me the most is other members of the community come out to express their gratitude to these teachers and wave hello. It's not just
the students who attend the school, but you see other people coming out, other people waving hello, other people saying thank you. And I think that sort of answers a question that many people might have when we're considering, what is the role of the public school in the community? And it is everything. It truly is the center of many of our communities, especially our smaller communities in Eastern Wake. And I'm really thankful to see the gratitude that's been expressed, because teachers have been working so hard to facilitate meaningful lessons and meaningful activities for their students, understanding that it might not necessarily impact grading, but still making sure that their students are engaged and reaching out to them. And I want to say a big, big thank you to teachers who are doing that while also navigating their own personal lives that are right there with them in the room every day. I do also want to say thank you to our principals. Again, I want to say this because before the guidance was given for the graduations, they were going above and beyond to honor their seniors. And we've seen that on the social media, and we've seen it in the drive-through parades and lots of different opportunities to acknowledge the seniors who are graduating. One of the things, another thing really quick, I was able to participate in a meeting with elected officials that talked about sort of centered around the response to COVID-19, and part of the discussion centered around access. And there were several counties in North Carolina where we had members of more vulnerable communities that were polled, and there was about 44% of the families that had been polled that did not know how to access aid from their schools, or did not know how to access food. Now, that's not 44% of Wake County. This was, again, multiple counties. But I think as we look to provide communication, we can always do more, especially right now. There's my board advisory council chair and the new chairs, hopefully, that we'll have in place for next year. This is part of our discussion, was around communication. And as much as we would like to, depend on media to give us summaries, we also want to make sure that everybody is accessing that, and I do appreciate the links to those meetings. We're seeing a lot of, if you think of that poster with the equality, equity, liberation, there's another poster that has a reality, and it shows some child who's way, way up high and someone who's, just completely blocked out of being able to participate. And I fear that that is a reality for remote learning. And as amazing as everything has been going on, it's something that we keep working for, and we keep working with families and keep listening to them to make sure that everybody has access. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Scott. Dr. Martin.
Thank you, and I'll keep my comments brief today, mainly just to say huge thank you to teachers, to students, to staff, to parents, to community members. This continues to be really a community effort to make sure that we do the best we can during this time. There's a lot of talk that everybody uses the language of remote learning. I just want to reemphasize, particularly to you students, that there's very little that's remote about your learning. Your learning is your personal thing, and I really encourage you to just find what you want to learn, find your passion in learning, because as you find your passion, that is going to carry you not just through this crisis, but into your career. I also want your career and your life. I also want to take just a brief little minute to recognize that had we had our normal schedule, about a week and a half ago on May 7th, we would have had the Teacher of the Year banquet, where we would have been able to do a special kind of recognizing all of the outstanding teaching that goes on here in our school district. So while all of those celebrations are delayed, I still think it's appropriate that we recognize all of our teachers, but particularly those who had the particular distinction of Teacher of the Year We salute you. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Martin. Mrs. Kushner.
Thank you, Chair Sutton. And thank you, Dr. Martin, for acknowledging the Teacher of the Year momentum. That is a great loss that we don't get to gather as we usually do to celebrate those teachers. So my hat's off to them. And I also wanted to echo and affirm Ms. Cash's comments around the budget. I think this is a difficult time, and budget season is always a difficult time. So I acknowledge her wise words that we need to continue to work with our county commissioners and to do that joint work together. If we can somehow find ways to socially distancedly meet and jointly talk with our commissioners, I think that will benefit us, because we're going to need their help getting through this time. To reopen schools, we need to think through. I'm getting a lot of questions from families and the community of what schools will look like when they reopen, and I think as soon as we can start illustrating what schools are going to look like, the better off we'll be. And again, to Chair Sutton's earlier comments about over-communicating with the community and our families so that we give them greater clarity about what how we're thinking through reopening schools and what that will look like. So thanks to everyone connected with the Wake County Public School System for all the work that you all are doing through this remote learning time, and both identifying gaps and continuing the teaching and learning. Great gratitude to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, board members, for your comments. Before I ask for approval of tonight's agenda, I want to add an item to the consent agenda. This is an item under academic advancement, and this is a contract with Creative Visions. Creative Visions provides audio and visual support for the district's graduation ceremonies, and once the plans to add the virtual part of the ceremonies was done, the contract needed to be amended. This contract was executed back in December of 2019 to support the current graduation ceremonies, to support the graduation ceremonies as they were originally planned. Now with the new plans and changes to those plans, we need to alter that contract with Creative Visions to now add pre-recorded ceremonies for up to 35 graduations with approximately 11,000 students. So we need to add an amended contract to our consent agenda. And with that, can I entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda as amended?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the amended consent, or the amended agenda.
Second.
I've got a motion by Mr. Fletcher and a second from Ms. Johnson-Hostler to approve tonight's agenda as amended. I'll call for the roll call vote. Mr. Fletcher?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson-Hostler?
Aye.
Ms. Mahaffey?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Mrs. Cash?
Aye.
Mrs. Kushner?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
And Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
Tonight's agenda is approved unanimously as amended. The next item for tonight's agenda is public comment. Residents wishing to address the Board of Education may submit their comments or video by noon the day of the meeting. The link can be found on our website at www.wcpss.net. The following citizens have posted public comments for tonight's May 19th meeting. Those comments can be found attached to tonight's online agenda at www.wcpss.net under the school board's portion of the website, which is specifically located under the tab titled About Us. And again, just a reminder, if you would like to post comments for future virtual meetings, that can be done also online at wcpss.net/comments. Those filing comments tonight and the topics are as follows. Laura Wood on composting. She actually submitted a video on composting. Erin Bayless on senior celebration and communication. Heidi Blankenship, start date for year-round schools in 2020-2021. Stacy Dugan on the topic of remote learning. Richard LaBrose on the topic of year-round STAR and IEPs. Kennedy Velasco on the topic of year-round start dates. Natalie Lanier on continuing online learning for 2020-2021 school year. Poppy McNearney, year-round schedules for 2020-2021. Dana Behan, year-round calendar consideration. Catherine Cornbow, year-round schools. Anna Maria Besley, start of year-round schools. Shannon Weimer, year-round start date. Nicole Bailey on the topic of working parents. Catherine Townsend on the topic of year-round and bridging the gap. Jacqueline Masterson, keeping school normal for students is the topic. Sean Rumbine, virtual school next year. Paige Fowler, contacting WCPSS Central Office employees. Ann Gooch on the 2020-2021 reassignment plan. Monica Marino on special ed students and inclusion. Krista Townley, also on the 2020-2021 student reassignment plan. Fernando Martinez and Letha Muhammad on the reopening the schools under COVID-19. And Christy Ann Stooks on composting at Lincoln Heights. Those persons and their comments, again, can be found on our website. That concludes public comment. I will move to our items on consent as also amended. So if I can entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Chair Sutton, Christine Kushner, I'll move approval of our consent items as amended.
This is Chris Haggerty. I'll second.
Got a motion by Ms. Kushner and a second by Mr. Haggerty to approve tonight's consent agenda as amended. Again, starting my roll call vote. Mrs. Cash?
Aye.
Ms. Kushner?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Mrs. Mahaffey?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson-Hosler?
Aye.
And Mr. Fletcher? Mr. Fletcher, I think I saw you say aye, but you did not unmute your mic. So if you could.
It actually was unmuted according to the little icon. So aye?
Okay. All right.
Hello, yes, I'm voting yes.
You got a slow mic, Bill.
Okay, well, maybe a fast tongue. Maybe that's what it is.
Just want to make sure we got you there on record. And I vote aye as well. So that is a unanimous aye. Our consent agenda is approved as amended unanimously. That takes us to our action item where we have one agenda item on for action that is under facilities, and that is approval of the 7-year capital improvement plan and resolution requesting funds for the capital improvement plan. This was presented in work session, and now up Mr. Hayden and Brian Ruth presentation of that item.
Chair Sutton, members of the board, and Superintendent Moore. This is Don Hayden, Chief Facilities and Operations Officer. Wake County Public School System and Wake County staff have reviewed and discussed the scope and content of a 7-year capital improvement plan, which will fully fund 8 new schools and 4 renovations, partially fund 9 new schools and 6 renovations, provide life cycle replacement system-wide, replace aging technology, furniture, and equipment, provide security improvements, and address space needs. Additionally, this CIP was revised to reflect the county's reduced funding projection due to COVID-19 closures. This resolution requests board approval of the CIP and also requests board approval of the resolution requesting that the Wake County Board of Commissioners provide funding for the CIP. The proposed 7-year capital improvement plan contemplates commitments from fiscal year 2021 through fiscal year 2027 and will require county funding in the amount of $2,466,506,992. Board approval of the revised 7-year capital improvement plan and of the resolution requesting funding from Wake County is recommended.
Mr. Chair.
I'm sorry, I didn't know. Unmute my mic. Mr. Fletcher, I will call on you to make a motion for approval.
All right. As Chair of the Facilities Committee, I move approval of the 7-year capital improvement plan and resolution and the resolution requesting funds for capital improvement plan.
Second, this is Monica.
I've got a motion by Mr. Fletcher and a second by Ms. Johnson-Hostler requesting approval of the 7-year capital improvement plan. I'll call for the roll call vote. I'll start with Mrs. Scott.
I had my hand up for a question, Mr. Sutton.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Dr. Martin.
Thank you. Well, I fully support this ask and this resolution. It's part of the process that needs to happen. And I'm very pleased with the work of the joint team between Wake County Schools and the county. I think it's important to at least acknowledge here before we cast this vote that we're making this change largely in light of the current COVID-19 crisis. In this change, we have cuts indicated over 6 of the 7 years and only any restoration back in the 7th year. We fully recognize that this is an ongoing annual process, so we can talk about it in the future. But I think it's very important to recognize that we want to make sure we don't have the same situation we had with the 2008 recession, where it took us more than a decade to catch back up. So I acknowledge this is what we need to do right now. But as we come out of this current crisis, I want to make sure that we restore as much funding as possible, because everything in this CIP is still only a down payment on the capital needs that we have throughout the county. So just want to pay attention to that we want to work together with the county and the cuts right now. But when we come on the other side of this, we've got to invest in our infrastructure, because if we don't do that, we get further and farther behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Martin. Important observation. Mr. Haggerty.
Thank you, Chairman Sutton. This is a question either for Mr. Hayden or for Superintendent Moore. We have the resolution before us, and I just wanted to know if either one of you could speak to whatever communications we may have had with the county commissioner or the county manager and staff about the request in advance of the resolution.
I do believe that the resolution is a result of the work of the core team. So it involves county staff and agreements between our staff and their staff about it coming forward once the board has approved it. So they are aware.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Haggerty. Mrs. Kushner.
Thank you, Chair Sutton. And I just wanted to reinforce and support Dr. Martin's comments, because this is it's thoughtful work done by the core team, jointly done, but we have to recognize that it's been reduced twice, and that we need to remain nimble around the partial renovation and the renovation funding so that we don't get caught behind with some serious facility needs which we may have in the future. So, but fully support the resolution.
Thank you, Ms. Kushner. And again, important observation, and just echo those comments that certainly important that we acknowledge the times that we're in right now. We understand the reductions, but it certainly is important that we continue looking forward and in the hopes that we can restore funding when appropriate. Any further comments or questions from board members? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. Again, Ms. Scott, I'll start with you.
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mrs. Kushner?
Aye.
Pash?
Aye.
Mr. Fletcher?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson-Hostler?
Aye.
Mrs. Mahaffey?
Aye.
And Mr. Hegarty?
Aye.
I vote aye in support as well. And so that grants approval of the 7-year capital improvement plan and the resolution requesting funds for capital improvement in a unanimous vote from this board. That concludes our action items. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Chair Sutton,
Yes.
I will make a motion, this is Roxy Cash, to go into closed session to consider confidential personnel information protected under GS 143-318-11A1, A3, and A6 and 115C, to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in GS 143-318-11A3, and to consider confidential student information protected under GS 115C-402 and the Family Educational and Privacy Rights Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G.
Second.
Got a motion.
This is Lindsay. I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Mahaffey. Got a motion from Ms. Cash and a second from Ms. Mahaffey to go into closed session for the items just stated and then on tonight's agenda. Again, we'll start with the roll call vote. I'll start with you this time, Mr. Hegarty.
Aye.
Ms. Mahaffey?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson-Hosper?
Aye.
Mr. Fletcher?
Aye.
Mrs. Cash?
Aye.
Mrs. Kushner?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. We now stand in closed session per unanimous vote by the board. Thank you all for joining, and we'll see you all, board members and staff, in the closed session link. Thank you all, public, for joining us at tonight's meeting of the Wake County Board of Education. This concludes that meeting. All right, Jonathan, you want to?
Yeah, we started. Is there a recommendation to approve all the superintendent's human resources recommendations?
Got a motion to approve the HR recommendations from Ms. McCaffrey. Is there a second?
Second, Ms. Kushner.
All right, got a motion and a second to approve the HR recommendations as presented by the superintendent. All those, roll call vote. Mrs. Scott? Take it that was aye. Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Kushner?
Aye.
Ms. Cash?
Aye.
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Ms. Mahaffey?
Aye.
Johnson Hosper?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. HR recommendations are approved by unanimous vote of those present. Mr. Bloomberg, your settlement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is to announce a fully executed settlement in the matter of RK buying through his parents NK and DK versus the Wake County Board of Education, 20 EDC 00257 of the Office of Administrative Hearings. Matter settled for $16,250 with a release of liability and other standard settlement terms. That's my only announcement tonight. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir, for that announcement. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion
Thanks.
Aye.
to adjourn by Ms. Mahaffey, second by Dr. Martin. All those in favor, well, we'll go through really quick. Mr.
Who?
Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.
Mahaffey?
Aye.
Ms. Johnson Hosper?
Aye.
Ms. Cash?
Aye.
Mrs. Kushner?
Aye.
Dr. Martin?
Aye.
Mrs. Scott?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We stand adjourned. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Good night,
Good
everyone.
night. Thank
Everybody.
you.
Everybody stay safe.
Be safe. Thank you. Bye.
Have a good night.
Bye-bye.